Now, economist Dr. Edu Sisakode has described the decision by the central bank to keep the policy rate unchanged at 29% as a prudent decision. The governor of the central bank at a press briefing yesterday said current pressures were under control. We'll hear from Dr. Sarkodie in a bit, but first, this report from the MPC briefing.
Speaking at the news conference, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, maintained that these monetary measures will complement other fiscal measures being implemented by government.
At the 3i Summit, we got some time to interact very much with a lot of the remittance transfer operators. And it's clear that most of them work with both the fintechs and the banks. So these foreign exchange resources associated with remittances are placed in the nostril balances of our commercial banks, and the banks have access to those resources to finance imports. So it comes to the broader Ghanaian banking system. I'm not sure if the central bank wants to go and chase those resources also to build reserves. At the moment, we don't intend taking those resources from the commercial banks.
The governor also ruled out suggestions that the IMF program is making it difficult for it to intervene to support the local currency. The Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Ernest Addison has also been justifying the decision to direct forex bureaus not to publish their rates on social media and engage in outdoor advertising.
I'm not sure if that assessment is right. Yes, we have some indicative targets in terms of the amount of intervention that the central bank will do. But these are not performance targets, right? So they are not deal breakers. So there is some flexibility in terms of those intervention budgets. I think the most important consideration is to look at the program objectives. The program objectives requires that we will build up a substantial amount of reserves because of where we started from. We started from having very low foreign exchange reserves with a lot of liabilities, foreign liabilities for the central bank. And what we have tried to do in the period that the program has been into place is to correct that.
Dr. Addison has been giving some reasons why it might be difficult for credit to businesses to pick up soon or in the coming months.
Lending in real terms have gone down. That, again, is an issue which you would not expect to be corrected immediately. It will take some time for banks to, regain the confidence to lend because of the non-performing loans which are increasing. You would notice that there have been several large exposures in the banking system which have deteriorated from the recent asset quality review that was done by BSD, and most of them have had to make provisions for those losses. So the environment is really not conducive for now for the real sector, and we would see some of these things settle down. Hopefully, as we get to make progress in the rate of inflation and this currency is more stable, those are the things which create the necessary conditions for banks to be confident enough to lend.
This is what the governor of the Bank of Ghana said when he was asked about the status of Cedi General and whether the group owners will be moving to dispose their interests in Ghana.
On SG informing the regulator of its next line of action, this is an area where we have not formally received any information on that from SG, both from their group nor from the office in Accra. I have had discussions with their office in Cote d'Ivoire, and I have complained that we don't want to be surprised. We are hearing things in the air, and we want to see the long list of those that are interested in acquiring their shares. We do not even want to see a short list. So I have expressed those concerns to their representative at the Cote d'Ivoire office, and hopefully we would hear something from the group very soon.
Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Ernest Addis was, however, optimistic about the outlook, insisting that despite these challenges, inflation rate will still end the year within the band of 13 to 17%.
Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, addressing the press yesterday about the decision by the Monetary Policy Committee to keep the policy rate unchanged at 29%. Economist Dr. Edu Sarkodie has been reacting to that.
Well, we all expect a single-digit policy rate, but the circumstances in which we all find ourselves does not warrant a further reduction in the policy rate because we are still in the process of fighting inflation. The fight against inflation is to be done by all, but BoG is just using the tools available to it, which is the monetary policy tools. And so they mentioned the uncertainties which has been fueled by the geopolitical tensions. They mentioned the fiscal consolidation which is on course. And so every businessman and woman would expect a lower policy rate to cause a lower lending rate and also a lower borrowing cost. But unfortunately, BoG can do little about it because the disinflation has slowed. The disinflation is steep. It's not steep, it's slowed. In other words, our fight against inflation is yielding results all right, but not as fast as we would have wished. And therefore, they are careful not to reduce the policy rate because even globally, most central banks are embarking on tight monetary policies. The reason the US dollar has been strengthened recently because their Fed increased their policy rate, and therefore many economies in the world, many central banks are embarking on what we call tight monetary policies. And so yes, the rate is high, but at least it's better than lowering it and allow inflation to go to 50%. You don't want that. You don't want inflation and the cedi to depreciate further to eat away the value of the capital. You prefer inflation and the depreciation to be tamed as against a relatively higher policy rate. So we always have to strike a balance. So this is more or less a lesser devil.